In Emery we trust though, Dave. Is that still the slogan for Aston Villa? They drew 1-1 with 10-man Ipswich, with former Villa player Axel Tuanzebe getting 2 yellow cards in a rash first half for him. But Villa should have gone on and taken advantage of that and didn't. And in fact, they were quite toothless at times, weren't they? They weren't as clinical as they could be. They definitely weren't as solid at the back as they should be. And obviously, Boubacar Kamara going off as well doesn't help that. So yet another injury for them. But again, you look at what Villa fans are saying about their team. It's been a consistent run now of not getting many wins under their belt. And they are sliding down the league a little bit, approaching mid-table. Obviously doing well in the Champions League, which is great to see. But their season is looking like it could change if this doesn't stop. You know, it's not just a blip anymore. There were bright points, which we'll talk about. Obviously, the new signings looking a lot more positive. But, yeah, 1-1 draw against Ipswich with 10 men, on paper, doesn't look great, does it?
No, and I think when you put it into perspective, and that obviously Axel Tuanzebe was sent off after 40 minutes, they were playing a game for 55 minutes, obviously including injury time, you would have kind of expect them to go and win. I think we all did, didn't we? I think as soon as that, especially after they levelled, you know, I think 69th minute, Ollie Watkins obviously scores and taps in the rebound from Marcus Rashford's, you know, almost perfect free kick. It set itself up to be a real fairy tale ending, I think, and you were all probably expecting either Marco Asensio or Marcus Rashford to go and score the winner. No, it wasn't quite to be, but they had so many chances at the end of the game that it was one of those days when it just wouldn't fall for them. And I think you've got obviously give the Ipswich Town's goalkeeper a lot of credit. That save he made at the end was sensational from that run from Marcus Rashford. I thought he played really well actually when he came on and looked a real bright spark for them. I think considering the way it was set up, Ipswich really made it difficult for Villa. They kind of occupied a lot of the spaces, they made it really tight, and it's not really Rashford's game, to be honest. He likes space in behind. I thought he actually played really well, and some of the interplay, I think, particularly between him and Villa's other front players, Asensio came on.
I thought he did well.
We've seen that it's got real potential to be very effective. So again, it's 2 points dropped, and the second time they've drawn against Ipswich this season. I think it's games like these when their fans will be especially disappointed. I think that they should, you know, they're not beating these teams that really should be getting 3 points from, particularly with the position they're on. They're running the table as well, like you say. But again, it's another season and a very new position that have put themselves in. Obviously, being in the Champions League for the first time in many years. I think competing on so many fronts, still in the FA Cup as well. So it's going to be difficult for them. I think losing John Duran, to be honest, we'll see whether that was the right thing to do or not. But obviously, at the beginning of the season, obviously scored so many important goals. He did drop off a little bit, if we're being honest, over the last few games. I obviously started scoring less goals, but he was a man for the moment, wasn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they need strength up front because defensively they're going to be shaky, aren't they, at the minute? They've got a tough run of games coming up and a lot of injuries stacking up, and obviously the likes of Axel Disasi is going to take a while to settle in. Obviously Kamara's injured now. Mings is still very much trying to get back his fitness and is somebody you don't want to overplay, but they've got a forward line that is probably the envy of the Premier League in some ways, you know, aside from Watkins, who's one of the best finishers in the Premier League. Marlon, I thought, played well. Asensio as well is definitely a threat. He's got some class touch, hasn't he? When he's got the ball, like his vision and his touch is so much more on a different level, I think, than what I'm used to seeing in the Premier League very often. Morgan Rogers, of course, Ramsey, Rashford, McGinn, Tielemans. You know, there's a lot of players that going forward should be contributing more. I think that's the frustration, is that their goal difference is in a negative. And that's the difference between them and the teams around them. They're not outscoring their opponents often enough. It's a case of shutting the back door more, but also just scoring more goals. And that sounds really easy to say. But with that forward line, I feel like they could just go better, I think, be more clinical to make a difference. Because their XG was like 2.2, I think, this game. And Ipswich is 0.5, but they had Liam Delap